Lastly, with regard to the tax cuts, I will never vote for a tax increase for middle-class Americans. But people at the richest end of the spectrum do need to pay their fair share.
Thank you. Next question is from Mr. James Pitt of Tucson, who would like to... Okay, I see that Mr. Kelly has a challenge card. 30 seconds, Mr. Kelly.
Sorry, ma'am.
The floor is yours.
The top 10% of wage earners pay 70% of the tax bill in this nation. I promise you we cannot tax our way out of this depression. We cannot. The pie that we have in this nation, it is our economy, it must get bigger. It can't be divided up more ways, and you do not expand wealth by taking it from one and giving it to another. We need to encourage success in business in this nation, not demonize it, and not continue to tell those who are successful that they're somehow the end.
Thank you. Okay, we'll invite Mr. James Pitt's question again. We would like each of you to give us 3 examples of things that you should be changed within the Social Security program in order to keep it solvent longer. This is a question with a 2-minute answer. After that, each candidate will get a 1-minute rebuttal time, and it starts with Mr. Kelly.
Well, what the government has done with Social Security is spend your money. You paid into it your entire life, and now government has an obligation to repay that. They told you that it would be there when you retired, and they've spent all the money. And they didn't keep it in a lockbox, they didn't keep it in a bank vault, they didn't even keep it in an account somewhere. Politicians of both parties, as they are wont to do, they spend it to try to buy more votes. And now they don't have a right to tell you it's not there. So people ask all the time, how do we save it? How do we save a system that the government is already bankrupt? And by the way, they don't even pretend to save your money anymore. It doesn't even go to Social Security when they pull it out. They send it right to the general fund so they can spend it right away and literally send Social Security, the department, an IOU. That's what they're doing to you now. So the only way we will save it, the only way we will protect the benefits that seniors have earned while giving future generations choices, but the way to protect seniors have earned is to grow the economy and grow it quickly. We tell people all the time, right now we're having problems keeping it funded. It is scheduled for insolvency. How do we do that? Energy. Grow the economy and grow it rapidly, and energy can do that. Millions of jobs, trillions in new revenue to the federal government. It's just sitting there. They're running a surplus right now in North Dakota because they're embracing their energy. We can put in those policies nationwide. It'll bring in the revenue to the federal government that we need in order to fund these programs. Because burying our heads in the sand and pretending that everything's okay is not going to take care of it. With 10,000 new people retiring every day, that's one person every 7.5 seconds. What we see right now will be the best we see unless we grow this economy. Because even the rich, that some people choose to demonize, cannot afford what's coming if we don't grow our economy.
Okay, briefly, on behalf of Mr. Pitt and numerous others who asked the question, are there specific things within the structure of Social Security that you'd be willing to alter?
Yes, give future generations choices. There was at one point in time, towns and places were allowed to have choices. Galveston, Texas did it. I would encourage you to look at Galveston, Texas and the results of their choices. Many chose to take a different route, and while the government spent all of your money, they're living better on their retirement.
Mr. Barber, 3 things you'd be willing to change in Social Security.
Well, I think first of all we have to look at the solvency question. The Board of Trustees of the Social Security system just put out a report about 2 weeks ago that said it was solvent until 2033. That's 20 years away or so. Not a long time. There's time to do the right thing. But the right thing is not what Mr. Kelly has suggested over and over again. Privatize it. Eliminate it. Phase it out. It's a Ponzi scheme. I'm surprised that Mr. Kelly would want to say a Ponzi scheme. I want to say Social Security because it's an investment that every working American has made all of their lives so that when they leave, when they retire, they will have a security of income. Did you know that 20% of people on Social Security, that's their sole source of income? We cannot abandon a program that worked successfully for 75 years and has much more life in it. So one of the things we need to do is get people back to work. The more people that are paying into the system, the more money will be in the fund. Secondly, we cannot, as Mr. Kelly suggests, allow people to leave the system. That's what keeps the system solvent. When people leave, the solvency begins to decrease. Getting people back to work is key. And in the previous times, we've had bipartisan solutions to the question of Social Security. And that's what we need again. We don't need extreme ideas about Social Security. We need to find the middle. We need to find bipartisan solutions as we have in the past. And there have been adjustments that have been made that have increased the solvency of Social Security, and we can do it again, but not with extreme proposals. We can do it if we get together. And I want to take a moderate and reasonable voice to Congress, not a radical voice that will help save Social Security and many of the other programs that we believe are important to seniors, to veterans, and others.
Okay, just listening, are there specific structural changes that you would be willing to make?
There are structural changes that have been made before. I think the important thing is that we need to bring together the two parties in Congress and find ways to do it. We can't continue to pitch stones at each other about Social Security. We've made these adjustments in the past. There was a time when Social Security was created that life expectancy in this country was 55 years old or so. And now it's much longer. Great, people are living longer. We need to adjust those kinds of things as we go forward, as we have done in the past. We can save Social Security far into the distance. Privatization, elimination, getting people out of the system will not save it. It will bring the system into collapse.
Mr. Manalakis.
Yes, as far as Social Security goes, I believe the structure is fine as it exists now. It's proven itself to be solvent for decade after decade after decade. I would not make any changes to that. Of course, being an eagle in Congress, I would keep an eagle eye on it. But more importantly, the way I would approach Social Security in three aspects that I think it definitely has to be changed is by realizing that Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, let's not forget Medicaid, 70 million Americans. Anyway, these are kind of like our three sacred cows. They're interconnected. And so to protect the one and all of these, I would move to take the fraud out of Social Security, to take the fraud out of Medicare, to take the fraud out of Medicaid. And this way we would save billions and billions and billions upon dollars. And this way, we the American people won't have to see in our newspapers around the country that billions have been stolen from Medicare, or Medicaid, or Social Security, so therefore our premiums have to go up. So I would develop task forces to take the fraud out of all these aspects of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And then I would develop security forces and security task groups to protect the people who stand up to the component that is the biggest taker of billions out of these three sacred cows, organized crime. And this is the way I would approach it.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, one more minute, please.
I would just like to address something very brief that Mr. Barber said. We cannot allow people to opt out. This is not Europe. This is not Russia. This is not some crazy place where our government allows us to do things. We are the land of the free. We do as we please in this nation. The government exists to protect our liberty. Freedom is what brought us to be the greatest nation in the world, not a government that allows us to do certain things. Your money that you earn with your paycheck is your money, and it should be your money. You do not exist as a battery to power the federal government's debt. You exist as a unique and amazing individual. You are not here to fund President Obama, any Republican, anyone else's debt. You are free, and that's how you're supposed to be in this country.
Mr. Barber, you don't need to use your card because you have a 1 minute rebuttal coming.
I thought I had to use the card to correct some really erroneous information, but I'm going to go ahead and do it without the card. If you do the math, it can't be supported. Social Security cannot be supported by people opting out. About 2 years ago, I was with a group of about 500 seniors who were concerned about the bank bailout. They said it shouldn't happen. The stock market lost $1 trillion that day. These people were concerned about what they would do to survive with their retirement income. If we put money into Social Security money into the stock market, the same volatility could affect it. This program was a security system is going to bring the system to collapse. The math does not work. Mr. Kelly has said repeatedly that he wants to privatize, but then in his website he says he will never vote to privatize. I ask, which stand do you take?
Manalakas, 1 minute.
Okay, I think that what I had to say shows that my opponents are completely out of touch with what's going on within our government, what's going on within Medicare, what's going on within Medicaid, what's going on within Social Security. I think they have to look at all these three again because they are intertwined and they have such great effects on us Americans as to our lifestyle, as to our comfort, as to our rights under the Declaration of Independence. So we have to, my opponents show they're not in touch with what's going on. My opponents are not in touch with the fact that the super committee right now, as we talk about protecting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, the super committee right now has set themselves into a process where they're slashing Medicare, slashing benefits to Medicaid, slashing benefits to Social Security. My opponents should be in touch with this. I am in touch with this. I've been delivering these messages for 9 months now at Occupy Tucson, and they're beginning to spread around the country. That's all I have to say.
Next question is from Mr. Harlan Capen, a retired Nogales businessman. He would like to know what specific steps